All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining us this month's meeting. Um, Mike, you can hear me okay? You can see my screen?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay, cool. I'm here with Mike Shanholtz, and I'm Ben Greiner. And first, I have to admit that we did not have a meeting last month. Things got a little busy and crazy around Thanksgiving. We missed that meeting. We're going to do a better job of getting all these meetings planned out for next year so that we don't do that again. I wanted to show everyone exactly how they could get to a meeting, a recording of a meeting. So on our website currently, under events, we have a calendar, and here's today's meeting. And last month we did not have a meeting, and we finally posted the October meeting. So if you go here, you can view it right from our website, or of course, if you click on the YouTube page, you can go into YouTube and watch it. And YouTube also, if you go to our channel, uh, we have a monthly meeting playlist where you can view the last two. Well, one thing I wanted to mention about the watching the meetings is is you can watch these meetings in twice the speed or half the time. Uh, I don't talk as quickly as some people do, so you can just say, "Well, I'll listen to Ben at double speed," and instead of half an hour, you're done in 15 minutes. So give give it a try. It sounds a little weird, but it works. Okay, let's see. So that's the recordings. That's YouTube. Um, I have to mention again. It seems like every meeting I have to mention this, but it's worth repeating, and that is a security reminder. Um, we created a little holiday message here uh, under in our help center. By the way, support.forgetcomputers.com will take you to our help center where we have lots of articles you can uh, browse, search, read, and one of them is a friendly reminder to be aware during the holiday season. We have seen a very large increase in malware or phishing attacks across our client base. This is something, to be honest with you, and Mike, chime in if you have any stories to share on this. But um, to be honest with you, I've read about this for years. We've known about it for years, but I would say this is the first year we've actually seen it hitting our clients directly, meaning they're getting so many scam emails, um, and some of them are falling prey to clicking on links that they shouldn't and entering passwords in some cases. So it's really important. It's really critical that you teach your team to be aware of what this means, and that's one of the reasons why we created. If we go back to our website, we have a security page, Apple Security, where we've been talking about this for a while. And to be honest with you, a lot of people in the Apple community have kind of ignored this for many, many years because they haven't seen it affecting them directly. But these phishing scams, which come in through emails, they don't care if you're running a Mac or Windows or an Android or Samsung. It doesn't matter. They can anyone is susceptible, especially when they're busy, distracted, of clicking a link that may look real, may look legitimate. So we created a program. We've had a program for the enterprise for a while where we work with IT teams to help secure Apple computers. But the small businesses who often overlook this, we struggled to find a solution that would fit a small business versus a large business. And we have a great solution right now. We partner with a company called Whimsical, Chad Calise, and he's got a cyber resilience playbook, which basically is let's get into your environment, let's see what you have, let's see where you could improve, and let's start making progress in that direction. And these are things that we've talked about at years for Forget Computers, or talked about security for years at Forget Computers, and we've talked about it with our clients. But until you sit down and go through this program with Chad and really understand where your weak spots are, it's hard to put the extra money in some cases and effort. It does take effort, and I equate it to The idea that it's very easy to walk in and out of a door if there's no or in and out of a doorway if there's no door. It's a little less convenient to open and close a door, but it's really inconvenient to lock a door, especially with multiple locks. That slows us down. And I remember growing up as a kid where we didn't lock our door. But granted, living in the city, I would never dream of not locking my door. And that's sort of what we need to start doing with security. We need to start locking the door, and in some cases, locking it with multiple locks. And that's where two-factor authentication comes in. Two-factor authentication, if you're not yet doing this and you have the opportunity, you should do it everywhere you can with every account that you can. And recently, we got aggressive with some of our customers in enabling two-factor authentication for Office 365. Once again, this is not something that you just turn on and it just works. There's some effort and um, communication that has to go into this. And this is one of the reasons why people often put it off. They're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, but I'm not sure I want to go through that pain. But when the alternative is having your email hacked, it's certainly worth the effort. So one of the things we discovered when we did this for a customer and for ourselves is that some people want to use email that's not Microsoft. They want to use Apple's email or Apple's calendar to get to Office 365, and that is technically supported. I think Microsoft does a better job of integrating as they should with their own product. So I would strongly encourage the use of Outlook or any of the Microsoft products or clients. But if you're a diehard Apple fan, and I was an Apple Mail user for years. Mike, I don't know what do you use to check your email these days?
I have been using Outlook ever since our clients kind of started using it.
Yeah. Yeah, I also switched over to Outlook, and I still sometimes kind of miss the simplicity and ease of use of mail. But Outlook it definitely feels more efficient for me in the environment that we work in, which is mostly we work in Office 365, and we have clients, the majority of them in Office 365. Um, So anyway, we had to create this K-base article on how to connect third-party email clients to Office 365 when two-factor is enabled, and this was I think it all comes down to the simple fact that Microsoft doesn't make things as easy as they could. Uh, I don't know why they do this, but everything at Microsoft has to be just a little bit harder than it should, and this is one of those things. So we eventually figured it out. We documented it, and it's working, but it's not very intuitive. And that's why we had to document it. And the biggest frustration with it is, Mike, I don't know if you saw this article yourself, but there's a button that you have to click that doesn't look like a button. It's so hard to see. It's very frustrating. Okay, so that's the monthly reminder on security, and that we do have solutions, but we can't just throw this security at you because you'll be angry at us. We need you to participate and get involved so we can help you, and we can help you understand why you need this, and then it'll make sense, and then you'll be happy that we did help you. So if you haven't, if you want to, I would strongly encourage you to share this K-Base article. You can go to our help center, support.forgetcomputers.com, and it's like top of the list under announcements, or you can just search for holiday and you'll probably find it. Let's see. Speaking of the holiday, we will be obviously closed for Christmas and New Year's during the holiday. We are open, officially open between Christmas and New Year's, but we're not taking on any more projects. We are booked solid, and we do have a lighter staff because of the holidays. So there's something in our business, the technology management business, called change management, and change management has to do with being aware of the changes that you're making. And we've noticed a trend, and that is that during the holiday season, during the year end, during the downtime, people decide to do things that they've been thinking about doing all year, maybe multiple years. They decide to do that with their computer, or maybe they get a new computer or a new phone or whatever. Um, and that can have a domino effect when it comes to change. You change something, whether it's upgrading, installing, replacing, and now suddenly something else doesn't work. Your phone doesn't work, your Apple Watch doesn't work, whatever it may be. So be careful, be aware of the changes you're making. Feel free to reach out to us, to our support desk, if you're a client of ours, in advance and help you plan for that change. Because although we like to trust that these new products and upgrades and things like that are always going to work, that's typically not the case. And in fact, one of the biggest upgrades that Apple has right now is High Sierra, Mac OS 10.13. I'm actually running High Sierra. I tested it in my family on several of my family computers, and then I installed it on my own machine. And some of us within Forget Computers are running this, not all of us. But we still haven't stamped the seal of approval on this version because I would consider it not fully baked yet. And they have put out a couple updates. Apple's put out a couple updates. They're on 10.13.2. Mike, are you running it, or anyone?
I'm actually not yet. No.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the things we talked about is what do you really get out of High Sierra? Now, one of the things that kind of motivated me is I used to have the ability to unlock my computer with my Apple Watch, but
Huh?
when I updated the Apple Watch, hey Mike, I'm gonna mute you because I'm hearing some background noise.
Sorry.
That's from me.
Oh, it's from you. Hey Chris, thanks for joining.
Um,
Just if once you guys mute yourself, unless we need you to chime in, then unmute. So I was saying I wanted to unlock my computer with my Apple Watch. Very cool when that works. But because I had upgraded my watch, I could no longer do that until I upgraded my operating system. So anyway, that was my motivation, and that's not the best reason to upgrade your operating system. But I felt like I had a pretty solid team here that could help me, and they did a great job. But there are still some issues with High Sierra. We cannot recommend it in the work environment. So we also have a K-Base article on that, and if we go back to support, um, back to our help center. And I'm just going to search for 10.13. And you're actually, I have a couple articles that are currently private. You won't see because you won't be logged into the area that I'm logged into. But when should you upgrade? We've got an article here. When should you upgrade? It talks about all the different operating systems that Apple has out there, and I would say tvOS is fine, watchOS is fine, although you're going to break your ability to unlock a new Mac. iOS 11 is okay. I personally feel it's slowed down my iPhone a little bit. Have you had that experience, Mike or Chris, with iOS 11?
I haven't upgraded.
iOS 11 aggravated me because when I switched to it, it affected Siri when I'm in my car,
Yeah,
which aggravates me.
yeah.
But I found a switch that enabled dictation, which I'm hoping might help with that.
Yeah, the car feature, the driving, what do they call it? I think we have an article about that too. Driving. Let's see. Please use iOS 11's Do Not Disturb while driving feature. Yeah, that is a great feature. I personally would go to iOS 11 even if I had to do it all over again, but it also feels a little unpolished, a little unfinished. So one last article I wanted to share related to all of this is I said 10.13. What was it? Delete. What's new? What's new in iOS 10.13? So if you're like, oh, what am I missing? What am I really missing from this upgrade? We summarize it here, and it's not a lot really. I mean, you get some updates to all the Apple apps, which it's not like earth shattering or anything you can't do without. So that's one of the arguments for why rush into 10.13 when there's really nothing big that you need right now. Okay, let me check my notes. Talked about Apple, talked about security. Let's also mention, in addition to Apple, they announced finally their new iMac, the iMac Pro, and this thing starts at $5,000. It's a great machine. It's it's built for, find the exact wording that Apple uses, professionals and power users, and I would consider those users video editors, 3D, anyone who runs 3D applications, 3D software. I just read an article about data center environments where basically instead of running 3 or 4 machines, they can just run one because this thing is so powerful. But with power comes a price, and the entry level price is $5,000. Which is what machines used to cost, so that's not too surprising. Although we've all gotten accustomed to maybe more affordable machines, but if we want to configure in a dream world the absolute the absolute top of the line, which is going to be the best processor, the most memory, 4 terabytes SSD, the best graphics card, and why not throw in a space gray trackpad because we're already spending a ton of money. We're now at $13,348. So for those of you who can have a really good business reason for spending that money, let me know because I'd love to hear it. But it's a great machine. Anyone here have one? Chris, Mike?
Goodness no.
They just started shipping, so I understand if yours hasn't arrived yet. Yeah. So a couple other things from Apple. The HomePod, I was really disappointed to hear that the HomePod got delayed. It was supposed to come out in December. It's now been delayed to early 2018, and we all know early 2018 could mean any time between now and June. Um, the one thing that is shipping, and I really like, and now everyone on our team has them, AirPods.
Now, just as a note, I went here to buy them for my wife, and they said they weren't shipping until after Christmas.
Oh, the AirPods?
Yeah, and
Oh,
it took a while to find where they were selling. The only place I could find, at least within the 30 minutes I was looking for them, was at Verizon.com.
aha.
Oddly enough, yeah, someone wrote an article suggesting that Verizon was the only one that had them, so I went there and they did. Yeah,
Oh, so you were able to get them?
I was. Yep, they shipped
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, it says order today, delivers January 4th.
Yep. So FYI.
So yeah, that means that probably means they're selling a lot more than they anticipated, and they didn't make enough.
Yep.
But they are very cool. I like them.
We are.
I'd recommend them.
Yes.
Okay, so typically we do 15 minutes of Forget Computers, then we go into Robot Cloud, which is more technical. We're going to do the same thing here. It's just that I think we spent a little more time on the non-technical because we're going to spend a little less time on the technical, and that is talking about reasons why we should avoid 10.13. And this is really more behind the scenes, more to do with an IT team, not customer facing. But it's worth talking about, and that is there are a few things that my team put together that are FYI gotchas on 10.13. I'm going to go through that list right now. Root access bug was unacceptable, and if you haven't heard, there was that issue where you could basically get root access to a Mac computer without a passcode. What was it, Mike, Chris? Do you remember? You just typed in root and no passcode, and you were in, and then you had like full access to the machine. I think that was it, and that was discovered. And although it was patched, that was like, come on, Apple, that was a huge miss right there. There's also issues with automated account creation. And it has to do with the way Apple's handling the very first account that's created. A lot of times with automation, the very first account that's created is a temporary account, and then we blow that away and we put in our account, we put in the client's account. Maybe you log into Active Directory and you get your own account. We don't recommend binding to Active Directory, but that's what some people do. And there's an issue where you really cannot get rid of that first account, or if you do, you're going to have some problems down the road. File Vault, especially encryption through automation, has bugs. Once again, File Vault will work, and in fact, my machine's file vaulted by our system, and I upgraded to 10.13 with no issues. But if you have a brand new machine out of the box running 10.13 and you want to run automation to enforce file vault encryption on that machine, you might run into trouble. AD, Active Directory authentication, still has bugs depending on the environment. I would say many environments have Active Directory bugs when binding, but I guess they're even worse with 10.13. Once again, I recommend not binding. Avoid the bind. Use something like Nomad, No More Active Directory, to get the same benefits from the bind. And I think it's worth noting that if you are binding, you should look very closely at why. What is the benefit you're getting? A lot of IT teams assume that the benefits of binding Windows machines, they're seeing those same benefits on the Mac, and oftentimes that's not true. It's a misperception, a misconception about what the binding is actually doing. And obviously, if you have questions, we can help explain that. Installs, especially command line installs, can fail due to inability to properly interact with APFS volumes. I just realized I probably shouldn't have just let this sit on AirPods while I'm talking about this, but we're talking about High Sierra. We'll go back over here. So yeah, Apple changed what they're doing with the file format of their hard drives. APFS is the new volume. There are some problems with that when doing command line installs and you have to restart the machine. Once again, not a showstopper, but rather annoying. Last two items I want to mention is High Sierra does require Adobe Creative Cloud 2018. Obviously, if you have Creative Cloud, you have the license and the ability to go to 2018, which is the latest version of Adobe Creative Cloud. It's just that it's still new. Adobe Creative Cloud 2018 is still a little rough around the edges. So we're not really encouraging people to do that. And in fact, certain workflows can't do that because they have to get their entire team, both Mac and Windows, on that same version at the same time. So it's probably a bad idea to have your clients running 10.13 and Adobe Creative Cloud 2018 unless they're really willing and open to be that experimental team that's going to find all those problems and help you troubleshoot them, or not just deal with them, because sometimes you can't fix this stuff. I also wanted to mention something Chris and I talked about. We've seen some issues with PostScript Type 1 fonts in the Extensys Universal Type Client. It's not necessarily specific to 10.13, but it is a bigger issue in 10.13 as Apple tightens the screws on their access to files like fonts. And the reason Chris and I were talking about this is because I was arguing that, well, nobody should be using PostScript Type 1 fonts in 2017. And Chris rightfully told me that, well, we still have a lot of clients who use PostScript fonts. And although that is true, I still want to remind people that, Chris, how long do you think we've been touting OpenType fonts? Maybe 2006, 2007?
2005, I think.
Yeah, 2005. I think we did a talk in 2005 about the future of fonts is here, and it's OpenType fonts. So that was 2005. Now it's 2017. If you're still dragging along your PostScript fonts and they're giving you any problems at all, just replace them with OpenType. You're going to fix a lot of problems. You're going to get a lot better quality font usage. And I don't know. I don't know how much longer we need to say that. Maybe we should just
Another 10 years, probably.
another 10 years.
I mean, I have clients that have bought into the OpenType libraries, like Monotype and stuff, but they don't want to give up their Type 1 fonts yet because of all the replacing they have to do.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I know. So I keep telling them.
Yeah. Okay. And then just to reiterate, we mentioned this in the first half of the talk, but my team, the feedback is there really an issue or a benefit, a new feature in 10.13 that people really need? And, other than new emoji support, which they might argue that they need, but maybe that's not true. I'm going to contradict myself, but there was one other thing that motivated me to go to 10.13 is family sharing. I was able to share extra storage with my entire family, which you can only do in 10.13. So that's not something that people need at work, but like I said earlier, put this on your home machines, use it for family sharing. Okay, last couple items. We finally finished moving all of our Robot Cloud K-Base articles into our Help Center. So if you go to our Help Center, in fact, if you just go to the root level of our Help Center, you're not going to see private articles. That's just me. Back there. But you'll see Forget Computers, you'll see Robot Cloud. If you go to Robot Cloud, you'll see Welcome to Robot Cloud, a lot of good information here, helpful articles for Mac, helpful articles for iOS. We now have an area focused on dashboard. We have a list of notifications that your clients will see. Actually, this is what your clients will see, notifications for customers, admins, you being the admins, this is what you'll see. So a lot of good information here. Please reference this, and if you have questions, reach out to us. At the last meeting, we talked about going to the JNUC, the Jamf Nation User Conference. We did that, and we had a mention during the keynote, which was totally surprising and fantastic. So I'm just gonna play this for you right now.
Now, to take this forward, there's other types of integrations that we do. Now, this is one that I really like because this example is something that was purpose-built to interact with Jamf Pro, but it was built by our friends at Forget Computers. This is Robot Cloud Dashboard. And what I like about this example of the Jamfan story is that this is data sharing. It's very actionable because you can see alerts on some of these devices. You can see if you might need to take some action. But it goes a step further. They built into this the ability to click on that device and get redirected right into Jamf Pro so that if you need to take an action, you can do that. Really good example of data sharing as well as some actionable data that you can use.
Okay, that was our mention during the Jamf Nation User Conference keynote address. And for those of you, if you're not logging in and taking full advantage of Dashboard, please do so. Please use the reporting tool. Please use the weekly email summary. Please reach out to us with ideas and suggestions going forward for how you'd like to see Dashboard help you and your team. A couple other things mentioned during the JNUC, which we're excited about. One is the integration with Microsoft. And to be honest with you, they announced it, and then I think it was just yesterday they said it was officially available with 10.1, but then Jamf pulled the 10.1 update, so I think there's some problems, maybe not related to this. But the fact that Jamf is working in coordination with Microsoft to enhance security is something that we're looking forward to testing and getting more information on. And then lastly, this is more of a reminder because they've had this for a while, but if you're running any environments that have Microsoft SCCM, there's a plugin where you can get information out of Robot Cloud into your SCCM environment, or out of Jamf Pro into SCCM. And I think that's worth looking at. So that wraps it up for this month, December. Be safe out there. Have a great holiday, and we'll talk to you in 2018. Thanks, everyone.